Northern Ireland could be facing an election before Christmas, the second this year, if a power-sharing administration is not formed today. The nation has been in a stalemate since February, when the First Minister, the Democratic Union's party Paul Givan, resigned in protest over post-Brexit trade rules.
Well, the Irish Republican Party Sinn Féin scored an historic first win in May's election, but the DUP is refusing to restore power sharing with Sinn Féin over the Northern Ireland Protocol. We're joined now by Mary Lou McDonald, President of Sinn Féin. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us this morning. So the Stormont Assembly is being recalled today. Is there any hope, do you think, of breaking this deadlock and getting the executive up and running again?
Well, a very good morning to you all from Dublin. There is always hope. And my great hope is that common sense and goodwill will prevail. As you've just said there, we had an election last May. It was an historic election for the first time. We have a Tyrone woman, a Republican, a nationalist elected as First Minister designate. That was historic, just a glimpse of the kind of change that's happening here in Ireland. But what we need above all is we need government. I mean, people all across the world, here in Ireland, indeed in Britain, also are struggling with a cost of living crisis, struggling with energy bills, struggle to get kids back to school, will struggle through the winter, we're coming into Christmas, all of the things that bring huge pressure on families, on businesses too. And the idea that the DUP, that unionism would continue to boycott government is absolutely appalling, to be frank with you. So we need a bit of common sense. We need an awful lot of goodwill. The Assembly will meet today. We will invite again our unionist colleagues to come into the executive to provide government for everyone, irrespective of their political view, and to make some progress and to protect people, quite frankly, during what will be a very difficult winter. If unionism will not do that, well, then we're facing into an election, as you have said. And just so as we're clear, if after that election we still have this kind of stalemate, this refusal by unionism to accept change in Ireland, but also to accept the democratic outcome of an election, and if there are no institutions in Dublin, then we're not looking at a return to direct rule from London. We will, in fact, be looking at a partnership arrangement and joint authority involving Dublin, the government here in Dublin, and the government in London. That's the picture as it stands.
So there are issues every way you look at it, aren't there? Because, you know, that's not going to be... there are those that's not going to be acceptable to either. What do you think is going to happen with regards to the Northern Ireland Protocol? Because the DUP have blocked the power sharing at the moment because they're protesting about the situation with the Northern Ireland Protocol. We know that Rishi Sunak had a conversation last night with the Irish Premier, Michael Martin, didn't he? Downing Street have said that his preference remains a negotiated outcome on the protocol. You know, this is key, isn't it, to unlocking all of this? How feasible do you think it is?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not just the preferred outcome being a negotiated agreement. It's the only possible pragmatic, sensible and orderly outcome. Just bear in mind that the protocol is a consequence of Brexit. And I respect the view and the democratic rights of the British people to Brexit, if you so wish, but it wasn't supported in Ireland. In fact, people voted to remain. And the protocol arose because we have to have good order, we have to have proper trading arrangements, we need to protect our peace process here on the island of Ireland. And there's a poll today, actually, in the Irish News, one of the Belfast newspapers, which demonstrates widespread support, 70% support for the protocol, an acknowledgement that it's working, and a huge negative response to the British government, the Tories, acting unilaterally, or this legislation that they're trying to bring through your Houses of Parliament to scrap the protocol. That's not supported here. Now, here's the irony. Unionism say, the Tories say, there are issues that need to be resolved in the protocol. Well, that's fine. Let's resolve them. There has always been a positive and open ear to sorting this thing out. So what we need, as I say again, is goodwill. We need common sense. We need adults in the room. We need to sort out those issues of application of the protocol. And then, quite frankly, we need to move on. because the realities for families, whether you live in Belfast or Birmingham, whether you're in Dublin or Durham, the reality is that families at this time, above all other, need politics to work. We need rational, sensible, orderly politics. We need government in the north, and we need a British government, if I might say, that works cooperatively with their international partners.
Mary Lou McDonald, can I just ask you about... You're looking for a border poll for unity across Ireland. I mean, you've explained there that clearly there are still differences, there are still issues, even if that's just the political table where parties aren't coming to the political table, yet you're calling for a united Ireland. Do you think that's even remotely possible? Not even just in 5 years, 10 years, but even within 20 years. Is it a real possibility, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, we mark now more than a century of Ireland being partitioned. We were partitioned, as you know, in the 1920s, and it's been nothing but hardship since then. It's been disastrous for Ireland, for Britain also. So, yes, I see a real opportunity and a real momentum in these times and throughout this decade to fix what is broken, to end division and to create unity in Ireland, but also a really good relationship with Britain, our next door neighbour. And I have to say, of course there are different views. Of course, in any democratic society, in any open system, you're going to have people with different ideas and views and different aspirations. That's a healthy thing in a democratic system. I have to say our politics on this side of the water looks incredibly tranquil and orderly by comparison to the kind of chaos that we've seen in Westminster and in British politics. So the fact that there's a debate, the fact that there are different views on the future of our country isn't unusual at all. In fact, it's the marker of a democratic system. But yes, we will see further change in Ireland, I believe. We will see referendums, as per the Good Friday Agreement, on the reunification of Ireland. And I think this can be just the most massive historic opportunity for all of us that live here in Ireland to manage our affairs, but also for our friends in Britain to finally get to a friendly, cooperative relationship between close neighbours and what I hope will be very, very close friends.
OK.
Mary Lou McDonald there, President of Sinn Féin. We'll have to leave it there. But thanks for joining us this morning. We know the Assembly is being recalled today.
Thanks so much.
We will follow developments to see whether that powering executive can be...
I think it's really interesting hearing Mary Lou McDonald's look back at Westminster and say, well, you're a very chaotic government at the moment. I think that is going to be the legacy for us for quite some time now, that other countries will say, well, don't look at us, don't point fingers at us and tell us to get our government in order until you get some stability and normality in your own place.